Imagine the most painful conversation you have ever had with a parent. Now imagine that conversation frozen in time, replayed on television, while millions of strangers argue about what you should do next. That is the reality behind every headline about Meghan Markle and her father, Thomas Markle. This is not just a story about a royal wedding that went wrong. It is a story about a private family rift turned into public spectacle, where every move is framed as proof that someone is either heartless or helpless. Welcome to Royally Misrepresented, your calm space for context and facts, the channel where we step back from the noise and look at what we can honestly know. If you are tired of outrage and still want to understand, you are in the right place. Before we go any further, if thoughtful commentary matters to you, you can support this work by liking this video and subscribing. It helps more people who are looking for calm voices to actually find them. Today we are going to look at how one father's health crisis and one daughter's long estrangement turned into something much bigger. We will walk through the history that brought Meghan and her father to this point. Then we will slow down and look at 3 unexpected reactions from the public. Reactions that tell us as much about ourselves as they do about them. The stakes here are not only emotional, they are also about privacy, ethical lines in journalism, and the stories we tell ourselves about what adult children owe their parents. Meghan's father is recovering from emergency surgery in a hospital in the Philippines after part of his leg was removed. Her spokesperson now confirms that she has managed to send a letter to him there, a letter that reached him with the help of trusted contacts, even as a Daily Mail reporter sits at his bedside, reporting on almost every interaction. Thomas Markle is Meghan's father, that matters. But there is a basic truth we have to hold on to. We cannot tell any person how to build or repair a relationship with their father. We can have opinions. We can have feelings, yet none of us will have to live inside the consequences of whatever Meghan decides to do. That is why this channel is not here to hand out orders about what she should do. It is here to look clearly at what is actually happening around her. Let us start with the heart of the story, her dad's health crisis and the question of possible reconciliation. Years before this operation, the relationship between Meghan and Thomas was already under heavy strain. In the months before her wedding in 2018, he agreed to stage photographs with a paparazzi agency. The images showed him apparently preparing for the big day, reading about his daughter and being fitted for a suit. When it emerged that the pictures had been arranged and sold, the scandal went around the world. At first he denied involvement, then admitted it, and went on speaking to the press. In the middle of that storm, he did not attend the wedding. He said he needed heart surgery and could not travel. Meghan, who had once described herself as a daddy's girl, walked into one of the most watched ceremonies of her life without either parent by her side. The then Prince of Wales stepped in to walk with her. The world watched the images, but very few people knew what was happening inside that family. In the years that followed, Thomas gave repeated interviews. He discussed private phone calls. He shared messages. Most significantly, a letter Meghan wrote to him, where she tried to set out her feelings and her boundaries, became public when parts of it were printed and later examined in court. For many observers, that moment summed up the break. A private attempt to communicate turned into public evidence. In her conversation with Oprah, Meghan spoke directly about the hurt. She described learning that her father had worked with the paparazzi. She said she called him, asked him if the photos were staged, and heard him deny it. For her, it was not only the choice to work with the press, it was the choice to lie when she gave him a chance to tell the truth. She framed that as a betrayal and as part of a pattern she could not continue to live with. Fast forward to the recent crisis. Thomas, now in his 80s and living in the Philippines, experiences a serious medical emergency. His leg develops a dangerous clot. His foot turns blue and then black. Doctors warn that without urgent treatment, he could lose his life. He has surgery and part of his leg is removed. Different relatives give different accounts of how he reached the hospital and who knew first. Some say a local hospital was involved. Others say he was taken to a larger center. Even inside this family, small but important details do not always line up, which already tells you how hard it is for outsiders to know exactly what is true. At that point, newspapers report that he has not heard from Meghan. A familiar story returns. The lonely father. The silent daughter. Then Meghan's team makes a statement. Her spokesperson says she has been trying to contact her father. that she has been calling hospitals, and that she does not have direct contact details for him anymore. The same statement accuses a Daily Mail reporter of sitting at Thomas's bedside and turning each interaction into content, making it exceedingly difficult for Meghan to reach him privately. Soon after, there is an important update. Her spokesperson confirms that with the help of reliable contacts, Meghan has managed to send a letter that is now safely in her father's hands. We do not know what that letter says. We do not know how he has responded. We do know that during this health crisis, she has written to him, and we know that her team believes the presence of a tabloid reporter at his bedside has made that process more complicated, not less. The newspaper's parent company rejects that view. They say their reporter is a longtime friend of Thomas, that he asked her to come, that she has been providing practical support, and that any information about his location was shared with Meghan's camp only with his consent. So even a basic fact, a daughter sending a letter to her father, becomes part of a tug-of-war between competing versions of the truth. Yet there is another uncomfortable fact. The publication now sitting at his bedside is the same one that once printed Meghan's private letter in the first place. Thomas continues to choose to work closely with that outlet. He has allowed cameras and reporters into some of the most vulnerable moments of his life. That alone makes it hard to tell this story as a simple tale of a helpless father and a cold daughter. From here, we start to see three unexpected reactions in the wider world. The first unexpected reaction is our need to turn this into a simple story of victim and villain. Spend a few minutes on social media, and you will see two competing pictures that barely recognize each other. In one, Thomas is the wounded parent. People highlight his age, his illness, and his distance from his grandchildren. They see the latest interview from his hospital bed as the act of a father begging for any kind of connection. They talk about how hard it must be to face major surgery, feeling that your own child is far away. In the other picture, Meghan is the person trying to protect herself and her family from a parent who has repeatedly chosen to bring the press into their private life. People point to the staged photographs before the wedding, the sale of her letter, the ongoing interviews, and now the presence of a friendly journalist at his hospital bedside. From that angle, he does not look like a passive victim. He looks like someone who keeps inviting cameras into moments that most families would fight to keep off the record. Real families are rarely this simple. A father can love his daughter and still make choices that destroy her trust. A daughter can care about her father's health and still feel that being physically present around him is not safe anymore. There can be love, guilt, anger, and exhaustion all at the same time. Yet our public conversations try to squeeze this into a yes or no verdict. Is he a good father or a bad one? Is she a good daughter or a bad one? The first unexpected reaction this crisis exposes is our discomfort with that messy middle. It is often easier to project our own experiences onto these two people and declare that one is completely right and the other completely wrong than to admit that we are looking at something far more complicated. The second unexpected reaction is how quickly this family pain becomes a stand-in for huge cultural battles. This is not only discussed as a personal disagreement about trust and boundaries, it is pulled into arguments about institutions, about race and class, about press freedom and privacy, and about what a grown child owes their parents. For some, Thomas becomes a symbol of the ordinary person who cannot keep up with the rules of powerful systems. The monarchy, the press, and the legal world are seen as the real engines behind this story. In that reading, his mistakes are evidence that these systems are unforgiving. One bad decision, one failure to manage the media, and you are cut off for life. Meghan is cast as someone trapped by her public image, forced to hold the hardest line possible even when it is painful. For others, Thomas represents old ideas about duty and family obligation. In that telling, Meghan becomes a symbol of a newer culture that is said to cut off older relatives too quickly, to choose personal well-being over loyalty. Her decision not to rush to his side is treated as proof that something has gone wrong in how adult children behave. And then there is another layer people rarely say out loud: the difference in how the press treats Meghan's white father and her black mother. Thomas speaks often and is still framed by many as the poor father who just wants a relationship with his daughter. Doria Ragland almost never speaks, yet she has been smeared in certain corners as absent, as a bad parent, even as someone with imagined criminal pasts. Outro. If this conversation gave you something to think about, you can support Royally Misrepresented by liking this video, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who is tired of shallow takes but still wants to stay informed. The more of us choose calm, the harder it is for the loudest voices to drown everybody else out. Thank you for spending this time here, for your attention and for your willingness to sit with nuance. Take care of yourself and of the people you love, even when those relationships are complicated. Until next time.